Good evening, everyone. Warm welcome. As usual, it's very nice to see all of you online. I see that we have an international family get together here today. So a warm welcome to all of you. A good morning to some of you, good afternoon. And for those in Asia, good evening. I'm sure all of us are looking forward to going back to our normal lives. We very often nowadays hear this term, the new normal. Some of us are already living the new normal, and some of us are getting prepared for the new normal. Some even question, is it possible to go back to normal? Normal is always going to be different tomorrow than it is today. Today we have with us a renowned speaker joining us from Washington, D.C. She is a spiritual mentor, an author, radio and TV personality, and director of Brahma Kumari's Meditation Museums. She also worked alongside Oprah Winfrey and her team. Sister Jenna, humble personality, and has a sweet voice, has touched so many souls. So today we shall welcome her all together. Good morning, Sister Jenna.
Good morning. Hello, everyone. So great to be with you, wherever you might be currently. As you all know, I'm in Washington, D.C., and it's it's exactly 6 a.m. in the morning, and we finished our morning meditation at 5, so this is a great time. Morning time is the best, but it's really lovely to be with all of you today. Very nice.
Thank you so much for joining us today. And over to you now.
Well, why don't we start with maybe just a second of pause. I think that's really been a big part of our lives now. Just pausing for just a few seconds and being very present. Here we are once again, perhaps just sitting in front of a screen of some sort, and I'd like to invite you to forget the screen for a little and imagine yourself just with your own company or with friends. It's not about the Zoom or the technology right now. It's just about souls meeting each other, helping each other along the way, sustaining each other, empowering each other. It's really transcending science and becoming comfortable with silence. And perhaps developing a new way of relating to one another through pure thoughts and pure feelings. Thank you for that moment of pause and reflection. How is everyone doing? I hope you're all okay. Feel free to give me a thumbs up or a heart shape. It's unique times, of course, and there's so much good happening at the same time. And what we were accustomed to before, there were so many things in our lives that we felt we needed a change in, didn't we? Didn't you remember there were certain things happening with you or your family, and you were just like, you wish it was different? And now it really is different. Whether you want it or not, now it's really different. And there are some new things that perhaps have developed for you now, which you weren't expecting. I don't know how many of you have either lost your job or, have realized a relationship really wasn't a relationship. There have been a lot of changes going on in our lives, and it's all good actually. Everything that is happening to us is actually happening for us. In other words, whether you and I are interpreting that what we're going through is positive or negative, we can't see it that way. The only thing that we can do and what we have as an opportunity now is to actually acknowledge that everything that's happening to us is happening for our benefit. And I believe that's the new norm that we're getting accustomed to. We are growing, we are learning to develop more patience, acceptance, to accommodate, to try to stretch our understanding of ourselves, to try to stretch our understanding of each other. And there's a lot of benefit in that, isn't it? Because I'm sure that you must have been in situations where you were in your relationship or your marriage or friendship or at work, and you were so fixated on the person's behavior or character that you didn't even think of them in another way. So look at this particular period in our lives as a benefit. Now, Jakarta has invited Washington, D.C. to be with, all of you. And before we couldn't meet like this. We might have had a thought, but we didn't really put it into action. So anyway, let me give you the news of where I'm located right now. We have two beautiful meditation museums that are ran by the Brahma Kumaris. And since March 15th, which was our last day, the museums were closed. And so on the 16th, we started to do an online program for the advanced students and for our friends in the evening. I guess the thought was a month or two, okay, now we're moved into our 4th month. And I'll share with you some of the things that I know I've been going through, as well as my friends that I've spoken to and my family. One was, there was a sense of almost relief. Oh, good. We don't have to run here or there anymore. I don't have to deal with traffic. I don't have to keep, organizing and shifting things with a lot of people and things. So I had felt a kind of a relief at the beginning. There was also a sense of like a little bit of not discomfort, but oh, this is new. Speaking to everybody through a lens and sometimes getting feedback and sometimes not. Especially if I'm on Zoom and no one's videos are on, it's like I didn't know who I was talking to. And so that was different. If the session was on YouTube, I still didn't know who I was talking to, other than the fact somebody would make a comment. So that was different. So I started to feel that felt like I was almost just talking to myself. like I'm just talking to myself. And one of the things that I have not gotten caught up in is selfies. And so many people do this, click, click. And just I've just not been able to do selfies. The irony is, everybody who knows me, they just consider me to be always out there and shaking and moving, and I do. But I'm just not a selfie walla. I just don't do selfies. So for me to have started to just sit, because when we were at the museums, the camera would be on, but I'm on a stage, or I'm talking to a room filled with people, or I'm interviewing somebody on the stage. And now here I'm sitting looking in a little peephole, and I'm supposed to be having a relationship and a conversation with people I can't see. So that made me think about, am I really just talking to myself, or really, is there really someone on the other end relating to what I'm saying? And then I would hear the comments, and then I would realize, oh, yes, they are listening. Oh, okay. So a few weeks passed, and that feeling started to change, that this is going to be your new norm for now. So just get used to it. And what I started to learn, and I want to invite you to do the same, if you've been on a lot of Zoom calls or conference calls or your FaceTimes or your WhatsApps or what have you, is to actually start to recognize that one of our greatest assets that we haven't spent a lot of time in is the power of our thinking and the power of our mental capacity. Because even though my first week of just speaking into this camera in the morning at 6, at the night at 6, I'm speaking to a camera, I have no idea who's in front. I realized it was like I was just speaking to myself in my own mind, and I was using my thoughts, and the only experience I was getting back wasn't the comments that were being made in the comments field. It was what I was feeling based on what I was saying. Interesting, right? And so something that has become a new norm for so many individuals who are now working via this form is, I think, everyone's starting to hear back their own thoughts. And not only hearing back their own thoughts, but beginning to feel or sense the intentions in their thoughts. And they're able to recognize how they're feeling, or rather, they're able to recognize their intention based on how they're feeling. And that's become a big thing. And I believe there's some of us who appreciate what they feel, and there's some of us who are struggling with what they're feeling. And we are in a particular period in all of our lives that there is a push and a pull. There's a push and a pull. And, feel free, I might have forgotten to mention, feel free to get a pen and paper if you wish, or, text your friend or tell your friend to join you on this, because it might be informative for them, but also experiential. So one of the things I think we have to really check is this power of our thoughts. It's the most vital asset that we possess. The most vital. Absolutely. It is our breath, our thoughts. It's our breath. And so when we look at the fact that whatever you think, you feel, you can check your intention, And your intention will give you two specific feelings. And this is what I wanted you to write down. Check if you feel you're being pushed back, as if you're suffocating, as if you're going back to something old, as if you're feeling disempowered, peaceless, unhappy, scared, numb, unclear. That's when somehow the intention, the thought that you're having, the energy of experience that is apparent in you, what's alive in you right now, it's pushing you back. So it's like trying to push you down. Whenever you get that feeling, it's your past. The second thing, it's the other experience. You'll feel a pull, as if a future is trying to pull you forward, as if there's a better version of you trying to pull you ahead of where you are. You'll feel like something is inspiring you to be more, to think more, to live more. And you'll feel as if it's trying to pull you forward. It's where you can say that's where your hope lives. That's where your hope lives. That's where your energy of purity resides. That's where your love is. That's where your wisdom, your truth, your dignity, all of that energy that's required, you can feel like it's pulling you. So there are two things here. You're either going to feel pushed, something is pushing you down, pulling you back, like trying to suffocate you, or you're going to feel like you're being liberated, going forward, moving ahead, being supported, being pulled. Got that? So just for a moment, just a few moments, I'd like to invite you to think about a person in your life right now that whenever you think of them, you feel a push and not a pull. All right? I'd like you to think of a person that you feel just a pull. And I want to be kind of specific to give you even more clarity. I used this experiment on myself, and the first image, actually, it wasn't really a person that I thought about at the time for my pull, but what had come up for me was looking at a baby or thinking of a baby. And I thought, what if I had given birth to a child in this birth and I had seen that baby for the first time? Everything in my mind would be pulling me forward because now I feel like there's this future that I'm now responsible for. So you feel like everything is there of hope. Oh, I've got to do this. I'm looking forward to buying new booties. I'm looking forward to feeding them. Everything is looking forward to. And then I thought about when you think about, just not to say in-laws are awful, but whether it's an in-law, a spouse, a friend, or even a teenager or a relative, and you think about them, you start to remember a negative experience that you've shared with the person, and you can feel pushed back as if the person that you think of, that something negative happened between you and them, and if you happen to be living with them, how often are you going back to the old with that person? And how suffocating has that been for you? Food for thought. Interesting, isn't it? So, what feels better, the push or the pull? And I think that there are a few people in this particular period that are appreciating the fact that this new norm feels like a pull instead of a push. And prior to this particular period, they've often felt quite pushed back in unusual ways because souls weren't really thinking of their lives at a deeper level. And now people are. They're thinking about their marriages. They're thinking about their children. They're thinking about their lives. They're thinking about their finances. They're thinking about their health. They're thinking about their governments. They're thinking about their future. And all of this is happening in their minds in a day. That's new. Because there was a time people weren't giving thoughts to all of these areas, like what to do, how to do it. Most of the time maybe we were arguing with each other, thinking everything goes on as it is. Same Groundhog Day, day in, day out. You take the people you live with for granted and you don't wake up in the morning and just look at them with love and say good morning. One of the greatest methods to end a fight or conflict or discomfort in your marriage is when you wake up in the morning and you turn to your spouse, you tell them, good morning. And if you can put a smile to that, it's even better yet. When you are coming from a more genuine, truthful place from within you, because you have been answering or sorting out those thoughts inside of your mind, you will disarm anyone who might not be in the best of mood or in the best of state. Even if you went to bed that night arguing and fighting, and you wake up that morning and you become the first one to say good morning with a smile, it will change your partner. I guarantee it. I don't know about the kids, but definitely the spouses. The teenagers tend to be a little bit on the different side. But it is still sweet when you still have that attitude and behavior. And maybe prior to the pandemic, you would go on for 2 days or 3 days being upset with your spouse. And you wouldn't even be thinking, what is it in you that has to change? You might be thinking, what's wrong with her? What's wrong with him? He's always like this, so on and so on. So there's a new norm that we're looking at ourselves in ways that we haven't before, and it's a good thing. It's a very, very good thing. So what I'd like to take us through is like a little meditation. And before I set the tone for that, and I ask you to look at this for yourself too. Sometimes our sorrow, our frustration, our anger, which of course is all driven by ego anyway, or attachment. But sometimes, and maybe I should say not sometimes, all the time, it's coming from the fact that I'm attached to an identity that I've gotten very accustomed to, whether it is of the identity of my body, the way it looks, the color of the skin, the shape, the size, the gender. Or maybe I've been attached to the role that I play. I'm a wife, I'm a mother, I'm a husband, I run this business, I'm spiritual, I'm not spiritual, I'm rich, I'm poor, I live in this house, whatever it is. There's been this energy acquired in our personality, that every day you look into the mirror, you see the same person, it's normal to develop attachment. And so when we practice meditation, especially the type that I practice, Raj Yoga meditation taught by the Brahma Kumaris, which has been the most amazing experience for my life. But when I learned that I don't have to be attached to my labels, I need to be more attached to the divine and sacred experiences that I was naturally born with, then I start to bring those experiences in, being a mother or being a teacher or being a friend or being a woman or what have you. And so without that awareness, we tend to find our joy in saying, I'm a woman and this is my power and this is this, and I am Jewish or I'm Muslim and I'm a Hindu. And people get a lot of joy by attaching themselves to these labels, and they forget that the energy of joy is a natural, innate feeling of the soul. But when you ignore that reality, when you ignore the reality that love and joy is your natural nature, and you replace your love and joy with having the intoxication of being a man, a woman, a wife, this, you actually rob yourself of a deeper experience and a deeper meaning and way of life. So in this meditation, I did it when I was speaking at a church in Orlando, and we just put it together. It came out really nice. And what this meditation is to offer us is a chance to let go of a lot of things that you and I have become too familiar with, and to start to trust in the feeling of the original nature of the soul. And that's also a new norm, because we all are beginning to feel alive and feel ourselves once again. So wherever you might be, feel free now, sit up straight and make sure you're comfortable. If you'd like to invite the kids or friends again for this meditation, please do so. I think they will like it. I think. Take a deep breath. Release. Take a deep breath again. Release. And let's have this experience together. Om Shanti. As I sit here in quiet reflection, I'm reminded how my thoughts create my reality. I've accepted that I am what I am because of what I think. So what if for this moment I choose to let go of my various attachments to physical forms that have limited my potential and my capacity? What if I chose to be free from limitations of thinking? So just for a little while, I invite you to take a deep breath. Inhale and exhale. And imagine for a moment, what if I no longer had an attachment to my name? How would that feel? What if I let go of the awareness of the gender? What if I let go of the roles that I play, the titles that I own? What if I decided to release thinking of myself as a religion, a language, a nationality? What if I choose to just let go of the name, gender, role, title, religion, language, nationality, and let go of the awareness of the body? How would I feel? Who would think of me in this awareness? And who would I think of? I would think of God. And God's remembrance would fall on me. And I, the living soul, would be completely free. Let me just sit in this moment for a little longer and just be free. Now gently bring back the awareness of your gender, language, nationality, title, role, name, religion, whatever. Bring it back to your awareness and see if you can bring the experience of freedom and peace as you go out into the world and play your various parts. Om Shanti. Om Shanti. Om Shanti. That's one of my favorite meditations, and I hope everyone liked it. Did you like it? Was it good? Simple, right? So we took those few minutes and we consciously chose to let go of things that we had become so familiar with, and we transported the way we wanted to feel into a new norm. The new norm of getting, just imagine getting used to feeling powerful, happy, loving, wise, free, uplifted, motivated. I mean, just imagine getting accustomed to that new norm. And in order for us to be accustomed to such a new norm, we have to let go of old ideas. That's what I'm learning in this particular period in time. We have to, if we're going to really settle into this new norm, which is, I'm not looking at all the stuff that the governments are doing. Right now, America's COVID cases are going through the roof, and I'm not even exaggerating. Unfortunately, it seems that the leadership and how they were handling this, they weren't aware of the severity of this virus. And now they're looking at the possibility of closing down the country again. And I feel that what that's teaching everyone is, when there is this ego and attachment and the self centered or self serving mentality that we tend to bring into our lives, everybody suffers. And that's an old paradigm. And in the United States, they're still struggling with getting over that old paradigm into a new norm: cooperation, understanding, supporting each other, being there for each other, having more charity consciousness, being more reflective, kind. These are new norms that we have to move into if we're going to save one another. It's vital. I was remembering when I had my initial awakening, and just to give you a little bit of an idea about my journey. My father's Indian from the Brahmin caste, and my mother is African Caribbean from Jamaica. Here I'm born in the Caribbean island, leave there when I was 4, come to the United States of America. Of course, my mother and father's relationship didn't make it. She got remarried to a wonderful man who was African American. They came to their spiritual awakening when I was approximately 16 or 17. They had attended a public event, maybe like how you're attending a public event on Zoom. I don't know. They attended a public event that was featuring Daddy Janki, who was the absolute backbone and spiritual light of our community, the Brahma Kumaris. And in that one meeting, my mother experienced the light of God, and my stepfather experienced Krishna. Now he's African American, and he had a vision of Krishna. My mother had a vision of light. And after that, they went to the Brahma Kumari Center every day. They've been students and teachers for 35 years, non-stop. Now, I'm telling you, that's a profound story, that one event changed their lives forever. So when they started to change in those days, I'm a teenager, and you know how teenagers are. So from them being very different as a couple, I saw them really being very respectful, very soft, very gentle, very kind with each other. And then I remembered looking at them as if something has changed, but I couldn't put my finger on it. I started to see more light around them. Their eyes were sparkling. Their smiles became more gentle. And I said, maybe when I grow up, I'll become like that. But at a personal note, everyone, not interested at this time. So between my teenage years, going into business and running things and being Miss Popularity and having a lot of friends and a lot of freedom, and this is in Miami, Florida at the time, I bought my first house at 19 because I'd started a business at 16 with some friends that I hung out with and spent a lot of time with. And then I bought my first home at 19. And at 21, I bought my first nightclub. And by the time I was about 21 and a half, I bought my second nightclub. And these nightclubs were rocking, I tell you. I love them. One of my biggest thrills was to get out of my Jaguar or my Mercedes and just show what Armani outfit or what dress I was wearing. And how, the guys at the door of the club, they would have to meet me in the car. Well, of course, Jenna had arrived. And so this was the lifestyle that I had become accustomed to as I was growing. And so here I am now in my 20s. I am making things happen. I feel inspired. I'm thinking about all the things a young woman would think about. I kept my body in shape. I get my energy in shape. You know, I was thinking more future. This is the way you go. This is what happens. And I loved every bit of it. And then I had a deep experience of the light my mother had. And I was about 24 going on 25. And I was like, oh no, not now, not at this point in my life. No way. I was like, no, this is not a new norm I want. I like the old, whatever was happening with the old. But at that time, I was dating the son of a prime minister of a country. And when I was in the country, and I was there visiting him at the time, uh, this experience happens to me, and I am just not happy because I saw it with my parents, and I saw how divine they were. But I was planning to postpone my divinity till I was 60. And then all of a sudden, here it comes in my 20s. So that was not in my plans, okay? A long story short, I came back from after I had that experience in the country, I went to the center, the Brahma Kumari Center, and I told the sister who I had a lot of affection for, I was like, now what do I do? I mean, I can feel this energy of God's light was just pulling me. And it was approximately 3 experiences. And I'll tell you about one in particular. In this particular vision, I was on an escalator. And at the top of the escalator was this beautiful light that was just pulsating and vibrating. You might have seen it in the video. The same light I look at every day. And it was just pulling me like this. And then at the bottom of the escalator were all my friends with their drink and they're smoking. Come, Jen, where are you going? Come, come. And I would look down there. I go, oh my gosh, that was so much fun. And then I would look up on the other part of the escalator, and there was this gentle, serene, unlimited, loving light. And that was pulling me. And I would get out of that vision and I would have it over and over again. And so I knew it was time. You were being called. And so when I went back to where I was living in Florida, I told my mother and I told the sister that I guess I need to go to India and have a deeper experience with what I would call, God. But in our BK community, we call it Baba. And I wasn't religious. I loved people. I loved serving. I was always very generous and kind. But, spirituality is not for me. But anyway, ended up going to India for a month and a half. And I have to tell you this, and the clubs are still running, by the way. Still have my nightclubs, still have my cars, my beautiful condo overlooking the Atlantic, everything, all my wonderful clothes. And I went there and I just sat and I'm just in reflection. And there was like a scene where it was a moment for me to embrace the reality that the energy of the divine, the energy of the supreme has knocked on the door of my mind to say, I see you. I don't need to forgive anything that you have done. I just love you and I'm here for you. And there was just something about that gentle knocking on the door of my mind to say, you're now supported wholeheartedly. Whatever you need, whatever you want, I'm going to be here for you. And so I'm in India. I'm at the headquarters of the Brahma Kumaris. I'm sitting on the floor, and this experience just flows over me. And I don't know what happened in here in the soul, but when it knocked and I opened the door and the energy of the divine came, just said, I have you, I've got you, I'm with you. And from that experience in the early 90s, a whole new person evolved. And I remembered everyone. I was sitting in that space, in that auditorium, amongst about 2,000 people. I was in the front, and I was feeling so much fear, and everything that I did naughty as a young girl was coming up in my conscience. And the moment the energy of divinity or sacredness entered the space, it was like a cool wind that just blew away like that. Any of my worries, everything like just went. And it was at that moment I realized the energy of the Supreme, call it what you wish, Allah, Jehovah, Khuda, Bhagwan, God, Lord, Master, has no intention, need to forgive anything we've done. The energy of the divine is so loving, it doesn't even see your stuff. But the power of that love will help you to see what you need to see to let go of those memories. And that's perhaps the deepest anchor for me in my community of the Brahma Kumaris, is the fact that every time I turn my attention in thought to the understanding that this energy of God will never judge, will never need to forgive me, but it's just there to support and to give me power, that every time I turn my attention to that divine energy, a different person in me emerges. Something new comes forward. Something more about who I can be for me in the world shows up. And I don't want to live from the past anymore. There's just way too much newness and possibility that awaits, that for me to use my greatest resource, which is thought, to be thinking about how it was, what it could have been, would be to waste my life. So I wanted you to know a little bit about my background, because there's some people who come into spirituality and maybe they haven't lived as much, or they haven't acquired as much, or in all of that. But for me, I had a lot, and it was that feeling and that vision, the old friends party, I love it. And then the new, the energy of God's light and love, which opened up a whole new world, which was completely different than the one I thought which was the best. So the point that I want to leave us with is, may I invite you to contemplate that the period that you're in right now, in this particular time, might just be one of your best moments. It is a chance for your awakening. It is a chance for you to become authentic. It's a chance for you to be really honest with yourself and to see, what have I missed about me? What gifts have I put up in the closet and haven't used, which was bestowed upon me by the divine and by the universe? And take that gift back and open that gift and use it. Use it in your marriage, use it with your kids, use it with your in-laws, use it on yourself. You see, we've not been accustomed to taking the best of what we have and apply it to our relationships and situations. And now the new norm will actually put you in a position that you have no option but to find your gifts, your strengths, your truths, and use them. So I'm going to pause here because, us BK sisters can go on and on and on and on. And, I usually like to just have conversations and chit chats with everyone. However, I'm speaking from my heart to you today, and hopefully something has touched someone and has awakened something in you. And perhaps today will be a day that will be completely new, that you kind of really go back to your homes internally and say, okay, let me start to write down what are the things I really need to let go of, and what are the things that I'm ready to become new and completely full for me. What newness am I ready for? So to write those things down and to read them over and look at it over and over again, it will be a great help. All right.
Thank you, sister. That was illuminating. It reminded me of a saying that I just recently read, which says, accept what is, let go of what was, and make changes towards what will be.
That's powerful, right?
Yeah.
One of the things, just yesterday, I sent a message to a very well known industrialist because he had sent a message, and I said to him, well, something that I've lived by is do the things you think you can't do, because it'll keep breaking you out of these old ways and limited ways of being. And a lot of us get scared, to do new things. But I tell you, try it. Just like I know how mothers feel when they try a new recipe, how overjoyed they become when it comes out right. We need to try some new things about how we see ourselves and each other. There'll be something new coming out of that.
Sister, we have a few questions, but
Mm-hmm.
before we start with the question and answer, should we have a few minutes of meditation?
Sure, I would love that. Love that. Would you like me to do another guided meditation, or I can
Yes,
play another
yes,
one?
please.
Okay, all
Yeah,
right.
thank you.
Om Shanti. The time that we choose to be aware doesn't necessarily require me to just sit and meditate. But even while I walk and move around, I can be in a meditative awareness, which is awareness of the soul, the original, eternal, imperishable being of light. For a little while, I'd like to invite you to be present, to be here, and to be now. Allow your mind to settle in the moment, to relax. This meditation is about awareness. It's about becoming aware of your original and eternal self. It's about connecting to your truth. Let go of your name. And observe yourself feeling nameless. Let go of your gender to discontinue thinking you're a man or a woman. Let it go and observe how you would feel walking around without a gender. Let go of the role that you play and let go of the titles that you own. Observe how you're feeling as you are gradually letting go. Let go of your religion and put it aside just for now. And let go of your nationality and even the language that you're accustomed to. Imagine you have no name, gender, role, title, religion, nationality, or even a language. Ask yourself, how do you feel at this moment? And in this feeling, who would think of you and who would you think of? The Supreme Soul would think of you, and you, the liberated soul, would think of the Supreme. In this state of absolute freedom, I am truly who I am. A free, peaceful, pure, immortal, and eternal soul. Allow yourself to just be absorbed in this awareness. At this time,
Thank you once again. That was beautiful. So I have got a few souls who have messaged me saying that what I shared earlier with you to be typed out. So I'll just send it on the chat box. And there are a few questions, sister. The first question is, how do I transform from push to pull? Right now, I feel that my mother is my push. Though she is the best mother, in the world, that I could never have asked for anybody better. She's 87. Sometimes I become impatient, and then I become very unhappy with myself. I know that I should be compassionate. Why is it so difficult to be that? She is my best button presser.
Welcome to the club, my dear. At the center, my mother, who has been an instrument as well for many, many years in the Brahma Kumaris, she's also with me here too. And she's approached a new particular scene in her life, which has an element of dementia and Alzheimer's. And prior to that, she was always a very unique personality because she was very much in the entertainment industry. So she was always quite a handful. And so for the past 4 months, every day we are with her, and there are various scenes that emerge. And I can tell you from my own experience, I hear you so loud and clear that sometimes when you lose your patience, it hurts you more first than her. And what I felt for me, I know that this is a noble soul. I know this is a special soul. But you also have to accept that the inner power isn't fully evolved yet. That's all that is. But you know it's there. And you know that the drama will be offering you scenes that will help you to practice more and more. So, I'll give you an example. When she first started to go in that route, for a few months, I was just not me. Okay? So then when I realized what I was doing to myself, and I knew it, I knew each time I lost my patience, I was hurting me. I was hurting the cells in my body. I was making myself sick. And the only reason why I was losing all of that was because I too was thinking of the push. I'm not used to this person. This is how she used to be. This is what I want. This is my instrument. This is my business partner. This is my mother. This is my best friend. And now, within a matter of a few months, I lost all of that because she's now a different person. And my only frustration was I kept going back into the past, right? So I get that. But eventually you wise up because you know you don't want to do this to your system anymore. And you look at the soul and you go, this is a stage the soul has to go through. This is the part that the soul has to play. And what is my part? And who am I here in this relationship? Then little by little, I invite you, just go back into your virtues, your values, your strength of who you really are. And you will reach this point that you'll accept, but I have love for this soul. And as a result of your love for the soul, you will feel the pull to just be there to support the needs. And little by little, you'll start to feel like it's not me. What part she has to play, that's hers. And what part I have to play is mine. I got better, and then I went back into another season with her, and now I'm getting better again. So always my advice is don't pressure yourself too much when you find that you're not the best, but identify it and go, okay, what is this trying to teach me? Who am I? Where's my love? You know? And oh, something that I've used, Jabin and everyone, that has been really useful for me. And I ask you to try this one. When the relative is acting up or anything like that is going on, you basically pause and ask the self, what does love want of me right now? It becomes magical. I can't begin to tell you. What does love want of me right now? As they're acting up and kicking and screaming and carrying on with their antics. So I'd look at my mother, I go, what does love want from me right now? In my mind, I'll go, mm-hmm. And somehow I get protected. Got it? I hope that helped.
Thank you, sister. The next question is sometimes we share with people about meditation and they say that it's against their religion to meditate. How do we change their way of thinking, or maybe is there something that we need to explain to them?
I don't. I mean, I've reached a point that I'm able to identify the ego within myself. I can't change anyone, and you can't change anyone. But perhaps through your behavior and the way that you live, it will become such an inspiration that the mind or the feeling of that person might just go, it looks like what you're doing is working. So even if I do share what I believe works for me and the person resists it or speaks bad about it, I won't go back there. I will know that my example of living will be the greatest message. And maybe it's just not their time. Maybe there's just, maybe they've had a bad experience of seeing people doing it. There's so many reasons behind things. But what I would do, I would sharpen up my own sincerity and genuineness in terms of my practice of meditation. What works for me? Everyone, during this pandemic, we've been extremely fortunate in Washington, D.C. And I don't know how many of you know about the Brahma Kumaris, but it's a really beautiful community. And it's our meditation community, our spiritual nurturing community. And there are over 9,000 branches in 110 countries. And most of them are closed and only are taking care of a lot of service and emotional, spiritual support online as well. But I'd reached a point in my life that, one of the most powerful things is to have a deep sense of community with people, even beyond your family, to just feel like you can commune at a higher level of consciousness so that that can really give you a sense of protection and strength. And I'll always invite people to, even if it's a person who isn't a BK, what values do you appreciate in them? I have friends who are Muslim, who are Jewish, who are atheist, who are Christians, who are Brahma Kumars and Kumaris, who are Hindus, black, white, rich, poor, makes no difference to me. Each and every one of us are children of God. Here's my technique. Here's the method that's working for me right now. And I share it with people. I don't try to teach them, tell them you have to follow my way. I'm like, here's what I've been through. Here's what I've felt. And I think coming from that approach, it helps. It helps. But be more just yourself. And I find that people will be inspired. Everyone has folks who will resonate with you, and there's some who just won't. When I was in my 20s or 30s, that was like torture. If someone didn't value what I had to say or, didn't feel like they were a fan, and now it's like, you can be a fan, I'd still love you. You don't have to be a fan, I'll still love you. Why? Because I am love. And that's where I think we're all being asked to come from now. Not the external result, just internally. How are you doing? That's the key right now.
Thank you, sister. That was beautiful what you said. What we need to practice is I am love. I think that's very important. Thank you once again for joining us today. And we do hope we will be having more sessions with you. And just,
I would love
sorry.
that. No, I would love that. And if you'd like to do one where it's more experiential and I can see everyone, that would be also sweet.
Yes.
My just closing with everyone. Firstly, thank you for taking your time to dedicate this hour to your spiritual well being. It's not a small thing. You have a million other options. And I hope that you're taking this time sincerely sat deep in your heart that this is really for your benefit. 2, get used to a new version of yourself. Keep writing, the form in which you're ready to walk into. Begin to really put on paper the new you that the universe, the drama, the destiny is shaping for you. Some days I'll wake up, I feel I'm an angel, a deity, and that's not with arrogance. That's with the fact that I just want to emanate the qualities, the values. So find that in you to start to think about. And the third thing, never underestimate your small, simple acts of kindness in your home with your family and friends. When you smile at them, when you think of them in their glory, when you do something kind and generous. And to the wonderful sister that spoke about your mom, I hear you. I'm going through the same thing. But what I do know is at the depth of your heart is love and respect. It's just that deep within, you're like, I just don't have the capacity right now. So that becomes your signal to say, let me do the best I can to keep creating good feelings, pure feelings, so my love can expand and offer to this soul that has meant so much to me the joy and the respect that they deserve. So, Jabin, I just want to thank you for reaching out to Washington, D.C. and bringing Jakarta here so that we can receive your blessings and your good wishes of bringing this energy in the space. We're becoming really now one world, aren't we?
Indeed, sister, we are. Thank you once again. And thank you everyone for joining us. We will be having another session on Saturday, but coming Saturday, the 1st of August, we will be having the session at 10 a.m. Jakarta time. We have Sister Diane Tillman joining us from California. So due to time difference, we have moved the session to a morning session instead of an evening session. And she will be sharing with us on mindful parenting. So do hope that all of you are able to join us. And I have dropped my number. If anything, you can contact me so that I can keep you all updated for the upcoming sessions. Thank you. Until then, stay safe, stay blessed. Thank you, Sister Jenna. Have a nice day. Om Shanti.
And everyone, be well.